Coming up on Jerusalem Dateline, off again, on again. The cabinet votes on the hostage ceasefire deal, and some parts of the world celebrating a victory for Gazans. Plus, man on the street, Israelis' muted response to a phased hostage return and a Gaza ceasefire. And Dying to Live, the new documentary by Egyptian filmmaker Majed El Shafie, analyzing the events of October 7th and their implications. All this and more coming up on this edition of Jerusalem Dateline. Hello and welcome to this edition of Jerusalem Dateline. I'm Julie Stahl. Israel's Security Cabinet convened today and approved moving ahead with the hostage ceasefire deal with Hamas. As we record this program, the government is scheduled to meet to approve that agreement. While many in the Middle East are celebrating it as a great victory for Hamas, Israelis are uneasy about it. After months of wrangling and last-minute obstacles, the hostage ceasefire agreement between Israel and Hamas is signed.
It's going to take tremendous effort, political courage, compromise to realize that possibility, to try to ensure that the gains that have been achieved over the past 15 months at enormous, excruciating cost are actually enduring.
It came at a price. Israel's national security minister announced his party would leave the government if it passed what he called a reckless deal, but will return if Israel resumes its battle against Hamas.
In fact, this deal will end all the achievements we were able to bring to the state of Israel.
In the first phase, 33 of the 98 hostages will be set free gradually over a 6-week period. 2 American-Israeli citizens, Sagi Dekelchen and Keith Siegel, are in that group. Udi Goren's cousin, Tal Haimi, was murdered on October 7th and his body taken to Gaza. He says the agreement has to go ahead now, but has mixed emotions.
What happens when Hamas says, we can't find your cousin? Sorry, we don't know where he is. What do? Do we break down the deal? Do we have the international backup, the guarantees that we were given to make sure that, all right, if this is what Hamas does, then the deal ends?
Celebrations broke out in Gaza, and in Tehran, Iranians cheered it as a great victory for Hamas. Israelis were more skeptical.
I think on the ground here in Israel, the consensus that I'm getting is that we're all a bit confused. The feelings and the emotions are very confusing about this. Obviously, everybody is ecstatic about the fact that we're going to have hostages coming back home.
Israeli content creator Tal Oren told CBN News it's the context in which the deal is happening that has people asking questions.
I can tell that it's rubbing a lot of people the wrong way, and I myself don't even really know 100% how to feel, and I think that's actually the consensus in the country right now.
At Jerusalem's open-air market, feelings were mixed.
I think we lost all over with the decision we made, the agreement we gave Hamas, everything they asked for. We get almost nothing.
I'm very happy that we got our hostages back. It's unfortunate that it had to take this long, but I'm happy that we got them back. It's also unfortunate that, based on what I feel from the deal, I don't think that all of them will be released. I think some of them will still stay in Gaza.
I think it's something that the Israeli people really need now. We need hope from some direction. We need to see them back.
Julie Stahl, CBN News, Jerusalem. In light of this week's news, there's pretty much one topic of conversation in Israel, the deal being cut with Hamas. We went to downtown Jerusalem to see what people thought. Take a look. We're here in Machane Yehuda, Jerusalem's open-air market, and we're asking people what they think about the hostage ceasefire deal. Interestingly enough, many people didn't want to give an answer, and almost everyone said at least that it was complicated.
We could do the same things about 6 months ago, and I'm very upset with the Biden administration. They give us a lot of difficulties, with all the humanitarian aid, and this would make the war much longer. And we paid by soldier life.
My mother's very happy. She's been crying the whole day. So I'm happy as well, I think. I want the hostages to come back. I think it's about time.
We are at a point that something has to be done. Okay? They have to come back.
It's unfortunate that we're dealing with terrorists, that they act like this that they're holding hostages as in order to be able to get more out of the other country in Israel. So hopefully, with God willing, with God's help, we'll be able to get them all back.
If they're going to be back, we're all going to be happy, and we're all praying every day, and we're not stopping to pray. The whole hostage deal itself looks a little bit skeptical from our point of view. You should never let out 1, 2, 3, how many, and endanger the whole society.
The ceasefire is a little complicated. That the hostages are returning is good. It's important. It's impossible to leave them there. On the other hand, they're releasing a lot of terrorists, and it's impossible to know the future, if they'll return to terror or not. That's what's scaring most of the public. What will happen afterwards?
And do you think that it all compromises the other goals of the war, or like getting rid of Hamas, or?
In the past few months, we gained back our trust in the army and in the Israeli people. So whatever is need to be done later, hopefully will be done.
No, we didn't achieve nothing. Hamas still in power.
I doubt it if anyone actually really wants to change the situation in the Gaza Strip and cares about the Palestinian population there. I'm not sure they really want to get rid of Hamas.
Time and time again we see the international world, for some reason, I have no idea what, international world never, we stand, we have Israel's back, whatever. They never let Israel complete anything. Why? We don't know.
Coming up, member of Knesset Ohad Tal shares about the high price Israel could pay in the deal with Hamas. Days before President-elect Trump's inauguration, Christians and Jews gathered at the Jerusalem prayer breakfast in Mar-A-Lago to pray for him and show support for Israel. The act of encouraging the new administration also strengthened the bonds between the Jewish and Christian leaders there.
Ohad Tal, Minister of Knesset, you're here at the Jerusalem prayer breakfast. You've been here to many of them. What does it mean to you to see evangelical Christians and Jews coming together?
I think it's extremely important and so special. I've been to Jerusalem prayer breakfast in Houston, Texas, in Norway, in Australia, in New York, and now here. And for me, seeing evangelical Christians praying so passionately about the peace of Jerusalem, about the land of Israel, about the people of Israel, about the state of Israel, is remarkable, remarkable. That is a fulfillment of a prophecy. And as I shared before, I think that the connection between evangelical Christians and Jews is so important because you help us remember and realize who we are and who we should be. What is the purpose we came to serve? Because you know that the Jewish people came back from 2,000 years of exile, broke all rules of physics on the way, fulfilled the prophecy, came back to its homeland after 2,000 years. There has to be a reason for that. And I believe the reason is to unite humanity with God. As Isaiah says, that at the end of the days, the temple will be firmly established at the peak of the mountains, and all nations shall stream to it, for my house shall be a house of prayer for all nations. That is the vision.
We're also here at, today was at Mar-A-Lago, the Jerusalem prayer breakfast. You shared a message. You're very concerned, but what's happening right now is the possibility of a hostage deal to release some of the hostages. What are your concerns about that?
First of all, even just framing it as a hostage deal, it's part of the problem, because this is a ceasefire deal that basically leaves behind most of the hostages. We have 98 hostages still in the hands of Hamas. Even if you're releasing around 30 of them, it still means that the vast majority are going to stay behind. And the price you are paying to bring back the 30, which, by the way, Hamas doesn't promise that they'll all be alive. We might get some of them alive and some of them not. And we are paying heavy prices. We're taking everything. We're taking the IDF back. We're allowing the people of Gaza to go back to northern Gaza Strip, which basically will leave us with nothing to bring the rest. We're keeping Hamas alive, keeping them in power, We know them. We know what they will do. They will rearm themselves. They will reorganize. And they don't care about what happened in Gaza. They don't care about how many buildings fell down in Gaza. They know that they'll get all the donations, the billions of dollars from all over the world will flood back into Gaza. They will rebuild everything. That's it. And they won. They won. And that's a great concern for me, for my party, for many of my people. And I hope that the pressure that caused us to go for that deal will stop. I hope that those who are pressuring us will realize how grave mistake that is, because, you know, eradicating Hamas doesn't only serve the interest of Israel. It serves the interest of all other countries in the area. The Emiratis, the Saudis, the Egyptians, America. Everybody understand that this radical terror organization, Hamas, threatens the stability and the peace of all these countries. And I hope that everybody will support us in finishing the job, completing the mission, eradicating Hamas, as we've promised at the first day of the war. And I hope that we will achieve that.
Yeah. Also, what kind of message would this send to the rest of the Middle East?
Yeah, it's incentivized terror organization to kidnap more Israelis, because they've seen. I mean, if you want to bring down Israel on its knees, just take hostages. This is what it says. You know, in the Middle East, everything is quite simple. If you show weakness, everybody wants to come and grab a bite. I believe in God, and I believe that at the end of the day, even though this is a huge obstacle, I believe that we will overcome it, and we will find a way to win in this struggle, and to bring a better future for Israel, for the region, and for the entire world.
Up next, Dean Bachman from Regent School of Government urging Donald Trump to stand with Israel.
Our bureau chief, Chris Mitchell, also caught up with co-chair of the Jerusalem Prayer Breakfast, Michelle Bachman, who had a word of admonition about Israel for President-elect Trump. Take a look.
Dean Michelle Bachman, great to be with you. We're here in West Palm Beach, but today we're at Mar-A-Lago, President Trump's residence. And really it's been the Southern White House, I think, for almost de facto. So you were there at the prayer breakfast and you shared a message. What was on your heart to share today?
What was on my heart is to make sure that President Trump understood that according to the Bible, a leader can't divide the land of Israel. They can't scatter the Jewish people, because if they do, God brings judgment upon a nation. There's no other issue that a leader of a nation can get wrong more than the issue of Israel. That's really the main criterion. And so we talked about that issue because during the first presidential term of Donald Trump, his term couldn't have gone more beautifully until he released his peace plan that envisioned dividing the land and moving some of the people of Israel, scattering the Jewish people. And immediately within 24 hours, that's when President Trump appointed the coronavirus task force, and coronavirus destroyed the Trump presidency. And it destroyed many people's lives in the United States. And so what I wanted to do is talk about the consequences of dividing the land of Israel and how that brings judgment upon a nation. And we don't want to see that happen in the president's term.
And you cited Joel chapter 3, verses 2, which talks very specifically.
Oh, it's very specific, yes. And when you think of it, and Jesus reiterates that in the book of Matthew as well, when he talks about the least of these, meaning the least of the nations, which is Israel. So it's reinforced by Jesus as well. This is a clear admonition to a leader of any country. It's not just America. Any leader of their country, they either invite blessing to their nation or cursing. Donald Trump brought blessing to the United States like no other president ever had in his first term. We were totally blessed until he revealed his peace plan that envisioned dividing the land and scattering the Jewish people. And again, within 24 hours, we saw judgment begin to come to the United States. And tragically, Donald Trump wasn't returned to the White House. God now has given him a second chance. We're here to pray for him. We love him. We're here to pray for success for his term in office. And that's why our prayer is that there will not be a two-state solution. There will not be a Palestinian state. We don't want there to be a Norwegian state or a Austrian state. In other words, no people group should have any part of the biblical land of Israel except the Jews. God gave that land to the Jews for all of eternity, and it must not be divided. We've already experienced terrible consequences in the United States and around the world from that decision. We don't want that repeated, and so we were there to pray today.
So you're also the co-chair of the Jerusalem Prayer Breakfast.
I am.
And you said that today was sort of like an inauguration in prayer for the presidency.
It was, yes. Really, today was the beginning of inauguration week in many ways, and so we had people from, more than 30 countries from around the world and all across the United States, over 650 people gathering in the president's home. We walked through his front door of Mar-A-Lago, we walked through the house and into the grand ballroom, and it is spectacular. When people see photos of it, it's every bit as spectacular as they can only imagine. It's first class. But we were there to pray for, to inaugurate him in prayer, to lift up him and his family for his safety, but to pray for the nation and to pray that the president has biblical responses in his role as president of the United States. We also prayed for the people who will counsel the president, so that only godly counsel will come into the president's ears. So this was a wonderful day, a fabulous day. We prayed from early morning, and we're now having a dinner this evening together, but we've all been here filled with joy, filled with happiness and expectation that we literally will turn a page. And I see this next 2 years as a Nehemiah moment where we can rebuild the walls of the United States, so to speak, and whatever has been destroyed or broken down, that these would be years of building up and unity for the nation. We're done with division. We need unity.
Yeah. Michelle Bachman, Dean of School of Government. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Chris.
Still ahead, a filmmaker born Muslim in Egypt releases a new documentary about the October 7th massacre.
What would drive an Egyptian filmmaker born a Muslim to make a documentary about October 7th? Majed El Shafie spoke with us recently about his new documentary, Dying to Live. His story and his film challenge preconceptions people have about October 7th and life in the Middle East. Majed El Shafie, welcome to Jerusalem Dateline.
Thank you for having me.
Now, you were born in Egypt, a Muslim. You grew up there, and then you became a Christian, and you were persecuted, and you had to flee. You fled to Israel because it was the only place in the Middle East you could flee to. And now you're in Canada, and you started One Free World International. Fast forward to October 7th. You decided to make a film about October 7th and what happened. Why did you do that?
The truth has to be told. Israel have a special place in my heart, and God used Israel to save my life. I escaped from my home country, as you said, after converting from Islam to Christianity. I was tortured very badly, and I received the death penalty, and I had to run to the only democratic country in the region. And when October 7 happened, it was shocking to all of us, but it broke my heart because it just so much darkness and evil took this place. But God capable in taking this darkness and change it to light and a defeat to a victory. And that's a few days later I flew to Israel and I started Dying to Live, the documentary movie, in an order with amazing director Chris Atkins, in an order to show the grace of God and how we can tell the story of Israel and to fight the propaganda and the anti-Semitism that we see in the West today.
And Dying to Live, it's a stunning, stunning film. Tell me, who do you hope to reach with this film?
The film has three targets. Number one is, as I said, the West. That will be Canada, United States, Europe, Australia, to tell the Israeli story. But also I would like to see it, and it was targeted as well, the Israelis. They want the Israelis to see it. Jews or Arabs, Israelis, what doesn't matter. But they have to know that they are not alone fighting this fight. But also the third target is how to duplicate this movie in Arabic and Persian and Urdu in an order to show this in Arab countries. Because you can kill 100 Yahya Sinwars and Hassan Nasrallah and all of these terrorists, but you will find somebody to replace them. So we have to fight the ideology. We have to go to their homes and to show them the truth in love.
And how did it affect you personally when you came here after October 7th?
I couldn't sleep when I went to the kibbutzim and I had a meeting with the survivors and the victims. I couldn't sleep, like just the impact of such an event. And the surprising, not just the impact itself or the massacre, one day of a Holocaust, as the Israelis call it, but also what's happened after that in the West when you see all of these demonstrations against Israel and all of this, you know. And now you can criticize Israel as you wish, but if you take from Israel the right to exist and the right to defend itself, this is the new anti-Semitism that we see, and that's the wave that we see. These demonstrators have to respond to one question. Where have you been when Bashar al-Assad was killing his people in Syria? When Saudi Arabia was killing people from Yemen and Bahrain, when they sent their army to crush the Shia revolution in Bahrain? Where have you been when Iran was killing their own people just because a woman showed a little bit here? Where have you been? Why you did not ask for justice then? Why are you asking for justice now? Because it's not justice, it's anti-Semitism.
Wow, yeah. So with that as the basis, and you interviewed a Palestinian in your film, and judging by what he said, do you think this is a political conflict that can be resolved in a political way?
Will never be solved in a political way, and this is not a political conflict. Even if Israel give all Israel to the Palestinians and the Muslims will want to kill Jews. It's part of their ideology, it's part of their Quran, and there is no politically correctness here. Let's say the truth as it is. Politically correctness is the very cancer in our Western society. I can tell you by fact the only way of peace that both sides get introduced to the true Prince of Peace.
Amen. Yes, well, Majed El Shafie, thank you so much for joining us, and we just want to tell all our viewers to make sure they see your new film, Dying to Live.
Thank you for having me.
This amazing documentary will be available soon. To be able to see it, go to Majed's website, onefreeworldinternational.org, and send an email to them requesting information. Dying to Live is very powerful, and it's a great weapon against misinformation about October 7th. That's all for this edition of Jerusalem Dateline. Thanks for joining us. Remember, you can follow us on social media and access CBN content through our CBN News and other CBN apps. Be sure to sign up for our email blasts so you can keep up with information on breaking news. And please, keep praying for the peace of Jerusalem and for the safety of all IDF soldiers in harm's way. And especially, lift up the hostages in prayer this weekend for their speedy return. May they all come home safely. Remember, the God who watches over Israel and you and me neither slumbers nor sleeps. I'm Julie Stahl. For all of us here at the Jerusalem Bureau, we'll see you next time on Jerusalem Dateline.